I just watched the Backrooms last night, and I thought it was very disappointing. I'm a huge horror movie fan. I watched Obsession and Hokum, and I think so far those two movies, Hokum and Obsession, are the only two good horror movies that came out in the month of May and are currently in theaters right now. The Backrooms have been getting a lot of praise lately, and I think I'm gonna be the minority of people that think it was very disappointing and honestly not a very good movie. Um, to give some context, real quick, I have never followed the Backrooms on stuff online, like the YouTube channel, the Reddit threads, um, all that context. Uh, I'm not familiar with. I know the Backrooms was something that stemmed online, but I came to this movie coming from an outsider, watching this movie as it was, as a new concept, a new movie. This is, the first Backrooms movie, so it should introduce this idea to the general audience, which in this case, I'm the general audience. And I have to say, I think it's lacking a lot of substance. And you could blame that on me. You could say, hey, before you watch Backrooms, you have to go online for about 8 hours and do some research and then watch this movie and then you'll appreciate it. I think as a new movie with a new IP, a new story, it's up to the director and the producers to establish a strong foundation for a new film to be good for people that are watching and learning about this concept and this story for the first time. And I believe that telling people that say they don't like this movie is their fault because they don't do research online is not, I don't think is a valid excuse, because in that case don't make the movie. If that's a requirement to do research online and learn about Backrooms to better enjoy the movie, then the movie should have just been an online YouTube web series or something. But this is a movie in the theater. It's a movie released by A24. And I'm going to give a quick review. I thought the movie was too slow of a burn. It was way too slow. And I enjoy slow movies. I don't need action. I don't need jump scares within the first 20, even 30 minutes. There are a lot of horror movies I enjoy that were a slow burn, but this was a slow burn that did not have a payoff. Every good movie has the introduction, character building, um, climax, payoff, a plot twist, or some sort of there's some structure to it. And I feel like the Backrooms was just a slow burn intro, very very little character development, which was I think was a huge problem in this movie. And then the jump scare, there were no jump scares, and I think if you combine all the scary scenes in this movie, it's not impressive. Like all the Backrooms YouTube stuff that came before this movie, the original source material is better than this movie adaptation. And that's why I think the Backrooms should have stayed as an online exclusive, like made a sort of internet lore type horror thing, kind of like SMP, not SMP 500, but that thing where it's about the secret facility and the government stuff. It's online. It's where it's a whole website and people just dive into it as like this horror fictional thing, but you could really integrate yourself into this world and believe in it, and it's like really fun, like sort of like this creepy pasta thing, but more hardcore. But this movie, anyways, back to this movie. This movie, I thought it was really boring, and I didn't care for any of the characters. I thought some of the backroom stuff was cool, like yeah, it's executed well, but it was very surface level, and I think it needed more substance to provide the audience. The movie leaves too much work to do on audience's side that I feel like the movie felt really lazy. There's a lot of context that is not given to you. There's a lot of things open for interpretation, and I think that works sometimes when it's sprinkled in a smart way. But for a movie like this that's so mysterious and vague, and there's so many questions you want answered, the movie needs to give more to the audience, but instead it leaves more open for interpretation, and it leaves more questions asked by the audience, even more so than when the movie started. I think a good movie, a good horror movie that is mysterious and intriguing and weird is made where you have a lot of questions in the beginning, and at the end you still have questions, but you have a lot of answers. And with the Backrooms, you start off with many questions, and then you're left as confused. But throughout the journey, from the beginning to the end, it's not even that entertaining. It doesn't do one thing well. It doesn't do horror well. It doesn't do comedy well. There's nothing funny. Like, there's no funny jokes. There's no funny chemistry going on with the characters. So it's not funny. It's not scary. And the story is very, like, it's empty. It's very empty. And I guess that's the intention, right? Is that it's for you to fill in and for you to think about after the movie. But the only thing I thought about was that felt like a waste of time. But I understand, like, I think the concept of the Backrooms is great, and it is very fascinating with the online context, within the online context. But just the movie itself is not a good movie. It's very average. I would say, I would as far as go as far as to say this movie's below average. And I think it would have been better if Backrooms was released as like an Amazon Prime straight to streaming, or straight to Netflix, like an experimental indie horror film. I would have enjoyed it more that way. But because I paid a full price movie ticket to see this, and it was in theaters, and I booked ahead of time, I had higher expectations. This is an indie movie sold to us as a higher budget film. Now the quality and the cinematography and the acting was fine. It didn't feel like a low budget film. That's not what I'm complaining about. I guess I'm complaining about just the effort in the writing, the storytelling, and what we got. Because something like Obsession is definitely an indie horror film with a very low budget of less than $1 million. But that movie, I think, wasn't only scary, it was really creepy. The story was intriguing throughout. The character development was great. Like, you understood the friend, the best friend, the main character, Bear, the crush. They all had distinct personalities. Everyone had certain chemistry, and they would like, it felt like there was a real community and relationship triangle going on. With this film, it just felt flat. It felt like the characters were one-dimensional, and at one point I wasn't sure who the main character was anymore. I was like, is it the girl? Is it the main guy? And then some characters were introduced, and then shortly after they're gone. There's like nothing. There's very minimal character development, and I feel like there was not really much at stake. By the time you get like an hour and a half in, you just feel like you weren't really attached to anyone. And I think, like, I need to wrap this up, but there was one part where the main character says, there might be a pool in here. And I was like, oh, I want to see the creepy, the eerie pool. You know, like the creepy pool in the Backrooms, where it's like an endless pool, and the water looks creepy, and it's really still. They mention the pool and they never show the pool. And I was really disappointed. But, this movie sprinkles some context, and they explain a few things with the people that are investigating the back rooms, and sort of like they kind of hint like there is like a group of people doing research and they're trying to get data points and stuff, but it's very surface level. And I think they're aiming this, they're like setting this up to be a multi-part movie series, but at this point, like, I'm not that invested. So I give this a 3 out of 10. I didn't like it. I could kind of see how people like it, but honestly, I think the people that are going to like this the most are just going to be hardcore fans of the previous backroom stuff on the internet. And I think at that point, you could release anything that has the backrooms stuff on it and they'll eat it up. But that's just my opinion. I didn't like it, and I give it a 3 out of 10.